At Bayern Munich, the people in charge are football men. I appreciated that. At Manchester United, on the other hand, Ed Woodward was installed as CEO, somebody with zero understanding of football who was previously an investment banker. It cannot be a good thing when a club is run solely from a commercially driven perspective. Those are the words of former Manchester United manager Louis van Gaal when asked about Ed Woodward and the other top executives that he worked for during his time at the club. I'd add in Mourinho's thoughts, but I don't want YouTube to age restrict my videos quite yet. Since Sir Alex Ferguson's retirement in 2013, United have spent over £1 billion. Part of the spending taking on the shape of £80 million for a 4-time relegated centre-back. Bear in mind Leicester offered him for only £17 million a year before, but of course United said no to that. For those that don't know, Ed Woodward is United's current CEO, although his first prominent move came before he even set foot at Old Trafford. In 2005, he was the banker for the Glazers family leveraged buyout of the club, leaving him years later being paid £4 million a year to oversee the happenings of the establishment. It's rumoured that Woodward grew up a Liverpool fan, although he's publicly denied this. One thing that is true about Big Ed is that he values his privacy. One of the few times he speaks publicly is to the club's investors during the quarterly announcements. Once, when a concerned investor questioned the CEO and the team's mediocre results on the pitch, the boss man replied saying, "Playing performance doesn't really have a meaningful impact on what we do on the commercial side." Well, isn't that something you love to hear from a guy in charge of the biggest football club in the world? So United are on the verge of crisis, but is Ed responsible? While yes, Mourinho, Van Gaal, Moyes, Solskjaer and even Rangnick are somewhat responsible for what happens on the pitch, Woodward is undoubtedly accountable for the overall state of the club. In his position, he is responsible for overseeing all things Manchester United, despite many saying that he has little knowledge of the football world. One respected intermediary claimed, when it comes to knowing football, knowing players and getting deals done, it isn't his game. It's a power thing in my opinion. Woodward could do a deal with Chevrolet, for example, and it comes and goes without anybody really saying much about it. But when you land a big player, you get the plaudits. That's what they're chasing. They've made mistakes, yet they're still in charge. These mistakes normally resemble that of failed signings. Players such as Cesc Fabregas, Toni Kroos, Ander Herrera and Gareth Bale were all pursued at one point. Or were they? That's what David Moyes made clear when questioning the legitimacy of these pursuits. He said aloud, "I don't know if this man is a genius or a clown." It's actually the responsibility of Matt Judge, the club's chief negotiator, to call up agents and discuss the possibilities of a signing. Woodward doesn't get involved there. Apart from once. Yep. The one time he was involved was during the signing of our favourite fridge, Harry Maguire. The last of Woodward's many mistakes that I will cover came right at the end of Sir Alex's reign. Upon his departure, Sir Alex chose his successor in the form of fellow Scotsman David Moyes, which the club agreed to. What didn't go down as agreed was the coaching staff, as Sir Alex has said that he would like his title-winning staff to stay on under Moyes for a year to help with the transition. However, when Moyes took power and with the backing authority of Ed Woodward, he sacked the coaching staff and look what happened. Now it would be unfair not to go over what good Ed Woodward has done at United. Despite having more negatives than Ramos has red cards, it could be seen that Woodward has done some positives in his time as CEO. During the summer after Sir Alex's departure from the club, it was somewhat accepted that star player Wayne Rooney would be leaving for Stamford Bridge, with Chelsea making 2 bids, with the last one being worth £25 million. All was set to go ahead, but when Rooney and his agent went to confront Woodward, the CEO made it clear that Rooney would be going nowhere, as selling a 27-year-old capable of scoring 20 goals a season to a direct rival would be a sign of weakness that could not be tolerated. In all seriousness, I could go on about Ed Woodward for hours, and while I make no attempt to hide my distaste of the Glazer family and many of the high-ranking executives at Manchester United, I do invite you to format your own opinions and leave them in the comments below.